Today's focus is celery, and joining me is...
Hi, I'm Haley. I am a nutrition and dietetics student at Utah State University.
Great, let's get going. When we look at celery, it seems a little plain, like it might not have a lot of nutritional value, but Haley, tell us why we should make celery a part of a healthy diet.
Yeah, so celery, although it may look like a humble vegetable, is actually full of fiber and vitamin K. It has other vitamins and minerals in it, but did you know that celery is actually 95% water? Yeah, so if you're looking to get more hydration in your diet, then celery is a great snack.
That'd be a great summer snack, too.
Oh yeah, you keep you hydrated.
Is there a better time to buy celery at the store?
Great question. While celery is available all year round, it's in season in the spring and the fall, so that would be the best time to buy it.
Great. Haley, how do we pick a celery at the store?
Yeah, so celery, essentially, if it looks good, then it's probably good, but you want it to be this bright green color. You don't want a yellow celery. That means it's probably not very good. And you want to make sure that these leaves are looking fresh and that they're not wilted, because wilted leaves means it's not a great celery. And the ultimate test is if you squeeze it and it squeaks, then that probably means it's a pretty good celery. So
Once we buy our celery, how do we store it in the fridge?
that's also a good question. So storing celery in the fridge, you want to store it for about 1 to 2 weeks. That's your time window for when it kind of goes bad. And you essentially just want to store it in a vegetable drawer in your fridge. Most fridges have a vegetable drawer. Most fridges actually have 2 drawers, a fruit drawer and a vegetable drawer. The fruit drawer is great for fruit because it traps the humidity in there, which helps to keep the fruit from ripening for too long. And then the vegetable drawer actually
Has that low humidity, right?
has that low humidity so that the vegetables will not wilt as fast.
Great. So I've got my celery. I want to use it when I'm cooking. Do I have to wash it? How do I prepare it to use it?
Yeah, so to prepare celery, you definitely want to wash it. So you want to make sure that you wash the celery, because as soon as you pick it, it's really dirty, and you want to make sure that dirt doesn't get in there. And so we have already washed this celery. You just want to rinse it with water and get all the dirt off. And then in order to prepare it, we'll just use this one. You want to cut off the green part right where it turns to white. And then you also want to cut off the top where the leaves are. So we'll just do that for these ones. And this one doesn't have leaves, but you want to cut the top off anyway, because the top's not super good looking.
Great. All right. Thank you for prepping that. Now I'm going to show you how to cut the celery depending on how you want to use it. Of course, we can eat it raw. You can chop it up into sections, maybe make ants on the log with peanut butter and raisins, but you can also use it in the dishes that you're going to cook. Now that we have these prepped and ready, I'm going to show you a few different ways to cut this celery to use it in the food that we're making. First and foremost, you can cut the celery into different sections. And you can use these as celery sticks to eat raw. You can make them into ants on a log, put some peanut butter and raisins on there. Or you can chop them or dice them into smaller pieces and use them in the meal that you're going to cook. The flavor foundation for most dishes that you're going to cook, like soups, stews, curries, stir fries, use something called a mirepoix. That's a French word. It basically means a flavor foundation for those dishes. And the combination is carrots, celery, and onions. And the combination is a 1:1 to 2 ratio. Carrots and celery are a 1:1, and onion is that too. For example, if you're using a half a cup of celery and carrots, you're going to use a cup of onions. When making a mirepoix, you are going to cook it over low heat for a longer amount of time, and this brings out the natural sweetness of these 3 ingredients. And you'll cook them either in oil or butter. And when you're chopping up the celery or the carrots or the onions, the size of the celery will depend on how long you're cooking that dish for. So if it's a soup or a stew and it cooks longer, you want bigger pieces so they don't really soften up. But if you're cooking, for example, a stir fry and you're not cooking it as long, you want smaller pieces so they soften up quicker. So when you are chopping the celery, you can cut them into slices like this. And if you want smaller pieces, you can just cut through them to make them into smaller pieces. This is a faster way to get diced celery. It's not as pretty, but it's faster. Another way is to chop up the celery into slices. And then you can dice the celery this way. Again, they're smaller pieces. They're a little more uniform. But when you're cooking at home, you don't necessarily need that. Faster tends to be better. And then lastly, again, the bigger you cut the pieces, the longer they're going to take to cook. So if you are making a soup or a stew, you do want these bigger pieces for that recipe.
Thanks for joining us.